continue live right here at Pittsburgh CW. Bob Pompeani and Paul Zeiss with you. You see the number on the Borders and Borders hotline. Give it a call at 412-575-2600. Mike Trout's extension leads us to the conversation of Jameson Taillon. Paul and I were just talking about that in the break, and it's going to be an issue. The Pirates would like to sign him. He has 3 arbitration years left and then free agency. So, Paul, what would be a feasible offer on behalf of the team, and do you think Jameson Taillon would accept it?
I do think Jameson Taillon wants to get one of these deals done because listen, he's had a bunch of injury issues. He's a little bit older because he's had, he's lost whole seasons.
Cancer.
I don't know that he'll give the Pirates, the ability to buy out like 4 of his free agency years. But it wouldn't shock me if if they come together and they come up with a deal like 5 years, say $65 million or something, and that means you buy out your 3 arbitration years. That would be a bargain for the Pirates. 5 years, $65 million. If you're Jameson Taillon, you almost have to look at it like it's guaranteed money in my pocket right now.
Right.
The one thing I wouldn't do, which Harrison and Kutch and all them have done, I would not give any option years at the end of it.
Because those are not going to be exercised.
Right.
So I would agree in the sense that it's guaranteed money, and that protects yourself from any catastrophic thing that may happen to you. And it's $72 million if it's that, whatever it may be. However, if you're Jameson Taillon and you're looking around the market, you can also say, all right, fine, the first 3 years of my arbitration, I can meet you there. But when we go into free agency, if I do what I expect to do, I could be looking at a $30 million a year kind of market value. Why would I take anything less? So if you're going to make it, so he can play that game if he wants, and it's going to be interesting to see if they should ever go that high.
Well, they wouldn't, and then at that point, the talks would break down. And if you're Jameson Taillon, you have to hope that you stay healthy. Because remember, you still have one of these pre-arbitration years this year. So now we're talking about 4 seasons. You have to stay healthy.
Yeah, guaranteed money is guaranteed money.
It is. That's what I'm saying. If they buy out 5 years and they give them like $70 million guaranteed, that's life-changing.
And the Pirates have done that with a lot of guys.
That's life-changing money. Now they gave McCutchen? $50 million.
6 years, $51 million.
Yeah. So
Tabata was 6 years, $37 million. That didn't work. But Marte and Polanco also have the same kind of deals.
It would be different, though. Yeah. It would be different.
All right, we have some tweets here also. Craig on Twitter at KD Pomp, at Paul Zeiss says, dismiss should start Thursday against Nashville. We'll see about that. Ron Matthews on Twitter says, do you realize the Penguins would be in a lot of trouble if there were no loser points? And you're right, Ron. Loser points I don't like. I have said many years I'm not going to change. If you win a game, you get 2 points. If you lose, you get 0. I don't care how you lose, you get 0. Paul, do you like that system or not?
It's how it should be. I mean, to me,
it's hard to keep a record.
And then you get rid of the points, and then it just becomes games in the standings. And I think I looked it up. If the Penguins didn't have losers points, they would be
10 points off their total.
Well, I think they would be. What do they have? 10? Is that 10 or 11?
I think it's 10.
Whatever it is. I mean, they would be like 39 and 35 or something in the standings.
Most teams will be like that.
But
that's more reflective of what's gone on. They lost the game.
But if you're going to do it like that, at least make it so the winner gets 3 points. Which is silly. I mean, but still 3 points in one. But why not just get rid of it and go 2-0?
Let's go to the lines. We got Bill and Nemacolin. Hey, Bill, how are you?
I'm doing good, Bob. What's up with you guys? Good to see you on TV.
Thanks.
Hey, the Pirates the last 2 years have got rid of Cole, McCutchen, Harrison, and Mercer.
Yeah.
It seems like the same pattern all the time, And I don't see them ever doing anything, spending any big amount of money to be a contender.
They're going to spend, as we just said, Bill. They're going to spend on when you can get through arbitration and a little bit of free agency. They'll do those contracts. We've seen them. It's when you go beyond that. And if, for example, if Jameson Taillon, and thanks for the call, if Jameson Taillon puts up really good numbers, let's say he signs 5 years, Paul, to your example. Let's say that happens, all right? By the 5th year, if the Pirates don't want to deal with future money, they'll trade him.
Right.
In the 4th year, right? But if they want to deal with, that's when it's going to cost him even more because he'll be 30, 31. At that point, he still could command a lot of money.
Or if they were able to do that kind of deal, the 5 year, $60 million or whatever we said, $70 million or whatever it was, when they got to his last year, they know they're not going to sign him for a free agency deal. If he's playing really well, they'll wait until the trade deadline and then trade him for, to a contender for a boatload of prospects.
Yeah, that strategy is fine, but like in Garrett Cole's case, I would rather have Garrett Cole here right now than You know, they brought in Colin Moran. I know they got Joe Musgrove.
Musgrove.
They got Martin, the outfielder, who knows what's going to happen.
They got the reliever.
And Feliz. Yeah, I mean, okay. But you don't have Garrett Cole, and that's the one guy that I think you need to have. Let's go to Will on McKees Rocks. What's up, Will? How are you?
Hey, guys. How are you tonight?
We're good, thanks.
Good. I want to talk about the Penguins. Let's just say, you know, with, 9 games left, they have a catastrophic collapse and they don't, you know, get in the wild card playoffs, whatever. When does Sullivan's seat start becoming warm?
Not now, and that won't happen, by the way, Will. Montreal, although they won tonight, they're still a little bit too far back. For them to even creep into a wild card, they'd have to get real hot, and their schedule's not easy. So I don't foresee that happening, but I don't think Mike Sullivan's on any thin ice, to use an expression. Thanks, Will.
No, but I think if they missed the playoffs, you know, had an epic collapse and missed the playoffs, you know, and then next year they started out slow.
Well, next year's different, but I mean, you're saying about right
now.
No,
that's what he said. When would he start to feel heat? I would say if they missed the playoffs, I don't know that he would be 100% comfortable next year if they started off, you know, and after 20 games they looked like they were going nowhere. I mean, I could see him pulling the plug on it. That's the way you do things in hockey.
JJ in Monroeville is next on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. JJ, you're on.
Hey, gentlemen. How you doing this evening?
Good, thanks.
Hey, first of all, I don't see the Penguins missing the playoffs. They got the second easiest schedule. Carolina's got the second most difficult schedule.
But they have a lot of games at home.
They do have a lot of games at home, but they do have Tampa Bay and the Capitals coming up. Right. I don't see them winning those games. Look, Brian Russ had a pretty good game, but he tried to block a shot on that tying goal instead of covering Justin Williams. That was a huge mistake. If they're going to have him out there in that situation, they're going to make sure he covers his man. That was just a blown
I mean, that's such a
assignment
bang thing. The face-off win was something I didn't think was going to happen, but it did, and then you're caught in no man's land there at that point.
Right.
He's in a position where he has to make a choice, and he made the choice.
Yep, and you know what? We've seen a lot of weird things happen in these last couple of games and these goals, right? I mean, in terms of players misplaying things, and heck, it was Crosby the other night, the game winner with the Flyers. But I mean, those things happen. What's concerning to me is that it's happening too much with the Penguins. That's what's concerning.
Leaving
to me.
Points on the board, and when you get bad habits carrying over into the postseason, I mean, that could carry with you and hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're due for it. 412-575-2600. Call us. Air your opinion right here, right now. Pittsburgh CW.